Hi friends, welcome to MindThryve, where your story of growth begins. Let's start today's story.
Rajan had every reason to be confident. He had graduated from one of the top business schools in the country. Gold medal, distinction, the whole thing. He had read over 200 books on leadership, strategy, entrepreneurship, and finance. He could quote Peter Drucker, Warren Buffett, and Sun Tzu in the same conversation. He walked into every room like a man who already knew all the answers. And yet, at 35 years old, he had started 3 businesses. And all 3 had failed. Not failed slightly. Failed completely. Failed embarrassingly. Failed in ways that left him with debt, with damaged relationships, and with a question that kept him awake at 3 in the morning. I have done everything right. So why does nothing work? He did not know where to go with that question. So he did what he had not done in years. He went home, to the small village where his grandfather still lived. His grandfather, Krishnaswamy, was a retired school teacher. He had never studied beyond high school. He had never read a business book. He had no MBA, no certifications, no frameworks on the wall. He wore a simple white vesti, drank strong filter coffee twice a day, and spent his evenings sitting in a cane chair watching the sun go down over the paddy fields. But this man had built a small flour mill from nothing. He had run it through 2 droughts, 1 devastating flood, and 4 decades of competition. He had trained 30 young men who now ran their own successful businesses across the district. And he had never once, not once, failed to pay his workers on time. Rajan sat down across from his grandfather and began to talk. He talked for over an hour. He explained every business he had built, the logic, the strategy, the market research, the projections. He described every decision he had made and why, based on which theory, which framework, which book. He talked about where he thought things had gone wrong and what he would do differently based on what the experts said. His grandfather sat through all of it, quietly, patiently, not interrupting once. When Rajan finally finished, his grandfather stood up slowly, walked to the kitchen, and came back carrying a large clay cup, already filled completely to the brim with water. He also carried a small brass jug. He sat down, placed the full cup on the table between them, and began to pour water from the jug into the cup. Water overflowed immediately. It ran across the table, dripped onto the floor, spread in a slow dark circle across the cement. Rajan watched, confused. "Thatha, the cup is already full. It cannot hold any more." His grandfather looked at him with quiet eyes and said, "So are you." A long silence fell between them. "You came here asking why nothing works," his grandfather said slowly. "But you have not come here to listen. You came here to explain. You walked in already full of theories, full of frameworks, full of other men's ideas about how the world works. There is no room left inside you for what is actually true." Rajan opened his mouth to respond, and stopped. "I have watched you," his grandfather continued. "When you enter a market, you do not see what is there. You see what your books told you should be there. When a customer speaks to you, you do not hear what they are saying. You hear what your frameworks predicted they would say. You go into every situation with the answer already written in your head. And a man who already knows the answer can never truly understand the question." Rajan felt something crack open in his chest. Not anger. Something closer to recognition. "But I have studied everything," he said quietly. "Everything." His grandfather nodded gently. "Yes. And a man who has memorized every recipe, every ingredient, every technique, but has never actually cooked a meal, will still burn the rice." He let that sit. Then he reached out, picked up the clay cup, walked to the window, and poured all the water out into the garden below. The cup was now completely empty. He placed it back on the table. "Go back," he said. "But this time, go as a student, not as an expert. Spend 60 days asking questions instead of giving answers. Listen more than you speak. Observe more than you plan. And do not be ashamed, never be ashamed, to say 3 words that the most educated men find hardest to say. What 3 words? Rajan asked. His grandfather smiled, the slow, quiet smile of a man who has lived long enough to know that wisdom is not loud. I don't. No. Rajan returned to the city. He started his 4th business. But this time, before he built a single feature, before he wrote a single line of strategy, he spent 60 days doing nothing but listening. He sat with small business owners. He visited markets. He asked questions so basic he was embarrassed to ask them. He admitted, out loud, to strangers, what he did not know. And for the first time in his life, he built something that people actually wanted. Not what he had predicted they would want. Not what the textbooks said they needed. What they actually, genuinely, deeply wanted. By year 3, his business crossed 1 crore in annual revenue. By year 5, 10 crore. The day he called his grandfather to share the news, his grandfather listened patiently and then said, "Good, Rajan. I am proud of you." And then, after a short pause, "Now empty the cup again. Because here is the truth that no classroom will ever teach you. The most dangerous man in any room is not the man who knows nothing. It is the man who is so full of what he knows that he has no room left to learn what he needs to know. Knowledge is a gift, but a full cup cannot receive more water. Stay empty. Stay curious. Stay humble. The greatest thing you will ever learn is how much you do not yet know."
So, friends, your time matters, your mind matters. Keep choosing growth. If this story moved you, a like or comment means a lot. And if you are new here, welcome to MindThryve. Subscribe and stay inspired.